I'm joined now by Bruce Manners, who's the NASA COTS, or the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services Project Executive for Orbital Sciences. That was a mouthful.
It is.
First off, thanks. Thanks for being here today, Bruce. Real pleasure. And we just watched kind of an intro to Orbital's flight coming up. Now, I want to back up real quick. This Orbital is one of two companies in our Commercial Orbital Transportation Services program, and this is bringing an end to the program, isn't it?
Yes, it is. This is really the grand culmination of the entire program. When we started off, we were hoping to end up exactly where we are right now, but when we started out, it was a bit of an experiment and didn't really know how successful this was going to be. But at this stage of the game, we're looking at that we've already completed the SpaceX portion of the program and demonstrated their capability, and they are now servicing the space station with resupply missions. Through that, we developed, not only the launch vehicle, but also the transfer vehicle that goes over, the Falcon vehicle that goes over to the station. And under Orbital, we've done, pretty much the exact same thing. Started a little later because of some early start issues with the program in general.
And when did this all start? I mean, this program's been going for years now. This isn't just kind of a last year or two thing.
No, we've been, I don't remember the exact date of the program start, but we've been at it for about 6 years now.
Okay.
When we initially started, we started off with Rocket Plane Kistler and SpaceX. Rocket Plane Kistler wasn't able to quite succeed in what they were trying to do, so we closed out that agreement and started up with Orbital Sciences. So they got about a 2-year, started out 2 years behind SpaceX. But if you look at the actual program length and duration for both the SpaceX and the Orbital, it's pretty similar, really. And in fact, Orbital Sciences made up a couple of months of ground on SpaceX. So we're pretty excited that not only did they make up some ground, but as to where we are with the program. Back in April, we demonstrated the launch vehicle, the Antares launch vehicle. It launched successfully from Wallops Island. That was a big first for everybody involved, really. For Orbital Sciences, it was their first liquid rocket that they've developed, and a much larger class vehicle than they've been involved with in the past. And for Wallops Island, it was again similar. That was really the biggest rocket that's ever launched from Wallops Island, and they did a great job launching it. Orbital did a great job operating it, designing it, and building it, and so we're now ready that in a couple of weeks we're hoping to launch the Antares again, this time with a fully functional Cygnus spacecraft that'll go over and visit the International Space Station and deliver some demonstration cargo.
Okay, well, with the successful launch of Laddie, Wallops, it's wide open. So, with this upcoming launch, what are you guys really looking forward to? Now I realize, it's the end of COTS. It's COTS complete, right? It's success.
It is. Well, the first thing, we need to get through this mission itself. So the first thing I'm really looking forward to is the launch itself. It's a beautiful launch. The vehicle comes off the pad a little slower than what Wallops is traditionally used to. With their solids and their smaller rockets, it really is a very graceful ascent coming off the pad and getting away from Wallops. Once we're finished, that launch duration is about 10 minutes or so of excitement, and then we move into activating the Cygnus spacecraft. It's a spacecraft based on traditional spacecraft vehicle designs that Orbital has followed and practices they've used for their commercial space industry. Married that with a pressurized cargo module built by Thales Alenia Space in Italy, and so we're going to activate that, turn that all on. Then they go through some demonstration phases where they're going to demonstrate their operability and demonstrate to our Mission Control Center and everyone that they have control of the vehicle, that it will follow the pre-prescribed flight paths that we set up for it. And then once that's all checked out and demonstrated, and they've demonstrated to everyone's satisfaction that we've got a good, safe vehicle, it'll be coming on and berthing with the International Space Station. If they launch on the 17th, we're expecting berthing to be on the 22nd, and we're really excited to get that berthed. And the next day or two after that, they will open up the hatch. The crew will pull out cargo, and we will have demonstrated a second service provider for the International Space Station for cargo services. And that's just a really big achievement, that it will be done both commercially, and that at that point, NASA will be back into a footing where we can really meet our international commitments for the International Space Station. With the retirement of the space shuttle, we didn't have a way of delivering the cargo. That was a big piece of what the United States had committed to, the post-assembly of the International Space Station. And with Orbital Science coming on, we will fully be able to meet our commitments to that, and that's a great thing all around.
So like you said, really important to get both of these cargo providers online. Now, SpaceX has already done this. SpaceX has already been flying demo flights. Is there anything you learned from SpaceX going through the same milestones that you're applying to this, or anything really different with the Orbital one that you guys are keeping an eye on?
There's differences and there's similarities. On the similarity side, we learned that industry talks a little and they act a little different in how they go about development vehicles and their ops concepts and things. So that was just in general. We learned that with SpaceX, and we saw that pretty early on in the conversations we were having with Orbital. On the flip side, however, Orbital, because of their heritage nature, they've been around a lot longer than SpaceX. That in fact the similarities were much smaller. We certainly going through the safety review process and how we worked in a very solid system engineering process and rolled that out. That was a little bit of some changes to them, but not huge drastic changes. From an ops perspective, their operators and our operators, pretty much from day one, we discovered they all spoke the same language, and that was a great thing. It really made things a lot easier for the orbital science integration from the Mission Control Center and the ops perspective.
Okay. One real quick question. I don't know if you'll know this, but a lot of stuff was in the news about being able to watch the LADI launch if you're on the East Coast. Is the Orbital going to be the same thing? A lot of people will be able to get a look at it?
It's going to be very similar, and I'm sure Orbital Sciences, I know they did for the test mission back in April. They published a lot of places where you can go and watch this. This is going to be a great show again for the whole East Coast. I remember sending notes out to friends in New York City and all over Washington, D.C. and Virginia that they're going to be able to see this launch. It's going to be very similar. It's a different kind of trajectory, but it's a great big rocket leaving from Virginia, which is something unusual, and they're going to they'll get a good show all around.
Okay, well, awesome. We're really looking forward to it. Again, September 17th, this flight of the Orbital Cygnus to the International Space Station. If you're on the East Coast, go to nasa.gov/station. You can look up all the latest details on the launch and probably find all the up-to-date times where you can, step outside and hopefully see a historic flight to the International Space Station. Well, Bruce, thanks for joining me, giving us the latest news on Cygnus and its upcoming launch. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.